I'm Larry Handley, and this is For Better or Worse, brought to you by Little Brown Dog Productions. This is a podcast designed to help couples plan their wedding day by introducing them to the very best wedding professionals in the greater Cincinnati area. Our guest today is Elisa McKenzie of Elegant Events by Elisa. Elisa McKenzie.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for being with us.
My pleasure.
I appreciate it very much. Now, we've had the pleasure of working with you many times. So I have seen you in your elements, right?
And I do.
And I'm starting this off with a risk. But would you be okay if I said that you are the ringleader to this thing we call wedding circus?
Sure. Yes, I would.
It's crazy.
Yes, it is.
It's a crazy day.
It is a crazy day. I see myself as the conductor of this symphony of vendors that has been put together.
So much better than my circus analogy.
But that's me. I'm the conductor.
To be a little more respectful, you've earned the title of Master Wedding Professional.
Yes.
How'd you earn that, and what is it all about?
It's through the Association of Bridal Consultants. So it's a pretty big deal. It takes years. You start out to get a professional accreditation, then an accredited, and then master. So it's probably a 7 or 8 year process. It's like sitting for the bar. So you don't take it lightly. And there's only a few of us in the city, so it's pretty cool.
Is there a test?
There is a test and a form that you have to fill out. And you also have to meet so many points. You have to sit. You can't do it until you have this many points for maybe being published or how many years you've been in business and all the different things you have to acquire with experience and expertise. So.
Do you have to re-up over a certain number of years? Or once you got it, you got it?
You have it, but I do think the association expects you to stay a member to keep putting those initials behind your name. But
you are an event planner.
I am.
Is there another title at all?
A wedding planner.
Wedding planner.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been doing it?
Almost 25 years. Wow. And you know what's sad? I was told recently, a couple years ago at a conference, that we shouldn't say you've been in business 25 years. You
Why?
should say, oh, I've only been in business 10 years or over 10 years, so I don't look old. How sad is that? Because I'm quite proud of my experience, my expertise in the years I've been doing this.
Right on.
I'm still kicking butt and taking names. I'm happy to be here. I'm still learning, I'm still growing, but I don't feel that way, but it's funny that we were literally told not to say that.
Well, I love that sometimes you go to these conferences and things and get advice, but that doesn't mean you have to use all of it.
Touche.
Yes. So 25 years, how have you seen the wedding industry, the wedding planning industry change during that time? Because it has to be significant.
Well, the budgets keep going up.
They do.
The expectations keep going up. I think it's harder on a bride today than it was when I started with Pinterest and you'd think it'd be easier with all this information, but I think the expectation gets so unrealistic. The photos that they think they want that really aren't living photos, or photo shoots are not realistic that they can't have.
Right.
So it's very hard. And then balancing someone's budget with someone's expectation gets harder and harder every year.
Do you have that conversation with them about expectations?
I do.
I felt like you might have.
Yeah, I do.
Is it a hard conversation?
It can be. You hope it's not, but it can be. I mean, I'm very fortunate that a lot of the weddings I do, budget isn't the issue, and we can just go for their dreams come true. But no matter how deep your wallet is, there ought to be probably a stopping point somewhere.
Right.
Right? So we try to find what's comfortable with them, what they want to spend, what their expectation is, and try to find out what really matters, because you can spend mass amount of money and still not have that wedding that's just wow.
It can turn into a money pit, right?
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you want, I don't know, we do wedding after wedding, we're like, why is this one so magical and that one wasn't? We did the same at work. We have great vendors, whatever. What brings that magic? And it's not about the budget. It doesn't matter if that centerpiece is this big or this big. It really has, I believe, two things. One, the flow of the event, which is what I bring. And then, as hokey as it might sound, it's the love in the room that they bring. If we're there for the right reason, celebrating for the right reason, and it's about joy, then it's just...
Do you consider that part of your job, getting the bride and groom to that?
If I can.
Yeah.
just can't always happen.
Getting them to relax and enjoy the
Right.
day.
But isn't it, isn't it magical when you hit that moment?
Yeah.
I mean, we did a wedding recently where we had that moment all night long. It just was,
Yeah.
and that's what keeps us going in the industry, I think.
One of our former brides, we do something what we call a post-wedding interview with them, where we sit down. We basically just say, "How's your day go?" And her first response was, she laughed, she giggled, she was beautiful, and she said, "It was perfectly imperfect."
Aw.
Right on, right?
Right, that's the right expectation.
Yeah, it is. It is the right expectation. So when did you start, or better yet, because it was 25 years ago, how did you start and why did you start Elegant Events?
Well, I got married in 1991 and had a little over 500 people at my wedding.
Wow.
Don't necessarily recommend that. But my husband and I were very involved in church and youth activities, and he coached and I kept stats. So when you invite Mr. and Mrs. and their 3 kids, your guest count from 200 goes to 500 very easily.
Gotcha.
So that's what happened. But when I got married, I realized there was no one to do for me what I had been doing for all of my friends. We didn't have a name necessarily for it, forever and ever. So I knew something was missing, why I couldn't find this help. And then a few years later, in '96, a friend of mine gave me an entrepreneur magazine. It was like the latest and greatest of that year, the top 10 new, and event planning / wedding planning was one of them. He's like, read this, this is you, look. I'm like, people pay you? You can actually get education and certification? I had no idea.
Yeah.
So at that point, I just literally jumped in with both feet, and I've never looked back. So I wanted as much education, as many credentials behind my name as I could get. So I would believe I needed to know that I knew what I knew, so I could take on the responsibility of the most important and most expensive day of someone's life. So for me, I had to get that serious about it.
When you started the business, was there a huge learning curve?
Yeah. But I got to tell you, before I jumped into weddings, I did a lot of charity and not-for-profit work.
Okay.
And then at every company I worked for quite a few years, I was involved in every company picnic, awards banquet, year-end ceremony, whatever it took. So I always had my fingers in it. So it was only really about learning the specifics of the wedding, the action and the reaction to the wedding. That's so important. I did 3 weddings the first year, 5, 7, and now I shoot for about 25 a year. So
yeah, I was going to ask how many weddings a year you do. How many weddings have you done?
The worst or best, depending on how you look at it, was 32.
Well, that's in a year.
In a year.
You have an estimate on total?
250, something like that.
Oh,
maybe.
really? You've done more than that, haven't you?
It has. I haven't counted it up. I don't know that I don't want to count it up. 25 weddings for 25 years. What is that? I don't know.
Was there a point in time, maybe a clarity point in time, where you went, "I'm pretty good at this"?
Well, it's funny you asked that. Forever, I don't know what that's called, that imposter syndrome you have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And forever, it's like, they're going to figure it out. I don't know anything. This is horrible. I have no right earning money or whatever. And then it was really weird then when at one point you're like, holy cow, I'm the senior person in the room. I really do know my stuff. I really do have information that is of value. We took a long time to acquire that. And I don't know if it was probably a combination of age and experience. I had to grow up a little bit, put those big girl panties on, and live through a few incidences before I realized that I really do have something of value to share.
And speaking of which, I mean, on a wedding day, you are the point of contact for the bride and groom, most importantly, for every vendor out there, right? You are the fireman, you are the police chief, you are going to fix all the problems, you know all the answers. Are you comfortable with that now? And were you always comfortable with that?
I am comfortable with that now, as comfortable as one can be. And honestly, I think I've always been. And I think you really hit on something, that what it really takes to do well in my profession. So there are a lot of different attributes that you bring to the table. But if you can take it when the pressure's up, when the heat's on, when it hits the fan, and it always hits the fan, if you can stand and stand calm, then you've really got something you can bring forward for your couples. There are so many people that once it really hits, they freeze or they just break apart.
Right.
It is my greatest strength, and I actually found out I had that when I was about 21 or 22. I came up behind a car accident. The next car back, a young 3 or 4 year old had been hit and was bleeding to death. And before I knew what I was doing, I was out of the car, hand down in this cut, screaming for help, get me this, get me that, wrapping his leg. And I was pretty awesome. And afterward, I completely fell apart. I probably cried for 2 days. And I didn't even know who that person was. But that person shows up at weddings with me, which is, thank God. So I think it's just a natural gift, and obviously we continue to develop it. But
Right, and foster it through experience, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any great saving the day stories?
Oh, Lord. Often it's a million little bitty things.
Uh-huh.
I remember specifically being at a church where you weren't allowed to go down without something on your shoulders. And the mom had this little wrap that was there that had popped off. So I'm sewing on the wrap. There's a groomsman standing there waiting with a button that's off. Grandma's lost. So one of my team's out on the street trying to talk them into getting Grandma here. They've got her boutonniere or floral, whatever, ready to pin on her and, you know, get her down the aisle. So it's often just a matter of a lot of little bitty things that could cause great stress for someone. It causes great stress for us.
Sure.
But to make that happen, more of those kind of things than big giant moments. I mean,
Yeah, and the trick is to make that seamless.
yeah,
Yeah.
I tell them if I did my job right, they're going to think I didn't do that much at all. And the kicker is, I'm not going to throw other people under the bus. I'm not going to say, you can't believe what they did. You know, my job is to just stay 2 steps ahead, kind of run shotgun. If they didn't want coffee cups on the table, I remind the venue that we don't want coffee cups on the table. They don't, I'm not going to say, I fixed it. No coffee cups on the. So often they don't know. They don't want to know that the cake almost fell, violinist got lost, or the toilet was overflowing. Those are my problems.
Yeah.
So.
And by your description, you're the conductor. That's so important, but it's also true for every other vendor out there, quite frankly, you know.
You hope.
We all should be going, what's best for that bride and groom? And if
Working
we're
as
having
a
some
team.
issue, you set it aside.
Absolutely. And
Or
that's
deal with it
what's-
without anybody knowing about it.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And that's what's so awesome when we get to work together, right? When you get those vendors. I mean, we're always looking for the new, latest and greatest, and new bands, new whatever, new that's coming along. But when you get that seasoned team that you can trust,
Yeah.
we can really bring something special to that client, huh?
Absolutely. Yeah, right on. We have done many weddings with you that are ethnic weddings. You consider that part of your DNA? You like that?
I do.
Yeah.
I come from a pretty white bread world, and when I have the opportunity to dip into those deeper cultures, it's a really special thing.
Isn't
And
it great
often-
learning about them?
It is.
It's
and
awesome.
And they need help often. You know, it's not like the standard little church down the street where you're just the same thing. So if recently we did an amazing Persian American wedding together. It was so fun. So I had not done that before. So fun. I do a lot of Jewish weddings, a lot of Indian weddings. I've done Muslim weddings, Greek weddings. I love it.
Yeah,
So,
the culture is great.
yeah.
It's great to
Keeps-
see that culture.
Keeps it young and new for us, I think, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. You learn a lot.
And
There's a
you
lot of good
realize-
things about it.
Right. And you realize there's a lot of amazing people and cultures around the world.
Yeah.
And we're all really the same. Different, but
Right.
the same.
We realize the world doesn't revolve around us.
There we go. How about that?
Yeah, it's true. Do you have a scope in size? Like, do you just do big weddings? Do you do small weddings too? Do you prefer one over the other?
Well, we've sort of been trained in the industry to have your ideal bride, even down to the point where you name her, you know, what stores she likes to shop, what
Okay.
she drives. And that's often, that type of person might be who you market to. But I'm really happy to do any wedding that wants my help, whether it's big or small. I think often it's perceived that to have a planner, you need to have a big budget. And that's not necessarily true. It's just a matter of where you prioritize your budget. So I have quite a few weddings this year, I think 2 at least, that are under 70 people, which is really 2 attendants each or 1 attendant each.
Yeah.
They still hire me. That's pretty cool. Unlike the 500 people, 12 bridesmaids each, that obviously need a lot of help.
So it seems to me that, and even just your description there, that as a wedding planner, your relationship with probably the bride more, but the bride and groom, and maybe even their families, is huge. Is it critical?
Critical.
Yeah.
And often in those ethnic weddings you were mentioning, it's often the mother that actually does those
Right.
weddings. I don't get near as much opportunity to be with the bride or bride and groom as I do the moms. Jewish weddings, moms plan those weddings, you know. So, and it's funny, years ago, it was the bride and I would talk about her wedding, I'd talk about mine, and now me and mom are talking about the kids.
Right.
And I keep this up, it might be me and grandma talking, I don't know, but and I'm okay with that. I still cry at every wedding. I love what I do. I literally cry at every wedding. It's sad. So I figure
It's a happy cry.
It's a happy cry. I figure I'm still, when I'm the one that gets to hold that dress right before they go down the aisle and I drop that and I say, go baby,
Are you tearing up?
I hope not. I hope not. But that's a great opportunity, and what an honor to get to be a part of something so intimate. They trust you so much, and who gets to do that for a living?
Plus
who gets to be around people in love,
right?
That appreciate the work you do, truly appreciate the work you do.
And the legacy that you just described, that's got to be satisfying in itself, right? Hugely satisfying, because that's more important than, not that getting a nice review on Wedding Wire isn't important, but come on, having a legacy of child to parent to grandparent.
Yeah, when you have the opportunity to do multiple weddings and a client, and then you're back for the third bride, what an honor, what a compliment, and I've had that numerous of times, so very honored to have that.
I got this from your website, and I don't know what it means. What's the difference between consulting services and coordination services?
That's a very good question.
Thank you. I have no idea what I just asked.
Very good, Larry. I think it's one of the hardest things to understand about our industry. We have wedding planners, we have wedding coordinators, we have wedding designers, we have day of coordinators, which I personally don't like that term, and all aspects in between. So I think it's very important as a client, if you're looking for a planner or some sort of help for your wedding, determine what that help is and what your person's forte is. Our forte is really wedding day consulting and coordination. So I offer a lot of advice, expertise, and opinions throughout the planning process, and then come in and execute it. So it's all about, for me, all about logistics. My mother would always say, oh, well, what color is this wedding? I'd have to look it up, I can't tell you. But I know exactly when this, and this is supposed to happen. To me, the logistics is what matters. I love to work with someone like one of the floral designers who does a phenomenal job bringing the look. And I say, you make it beautiful, I'll make it happen. And then I get someone like you or Laura Leopard, and they capture it happening. So then it's a perfect scenario for me.
Right, I get it, right on. What has been your strategy to grow your business, to get new clients?
I don't know that I've had a real strategy. I have always tried follow my dad's example of working hard and being kind and being honest. And my reputation has always been the utmost important, as my father would have expected it. And I think that continues to carry us through. We're good at what we do, we love what we do, but I think you know what you're going to get with me, and that is given from one person to the next. So I think that's what's managed. That, and I keep a young crowd with me. I've got an amazing team, starting with Sally, who's been with me over 20 years, to some of the girls that have coming in are 3 or 4 years with an internship program that still beg to come back and work. So you get that young, they're so excited, and you get to watch the wedding again through their eyes, where their eyes are just wide open, their mouths hanging, and they just can't believe it. So you get stirred up all again of the excitement. I think that's been a big plus for Elegant Events.
That's neat. Do you work outside Cincinnati?
I have on occasion. Every once in a while I think, oh, I wish I'd have done destination weddings more. But raising my kids, it was all about making sure I was still here for the volleyball games and basketball games. And so I didn't really pursue it. Happy to go if the opportunity comes, and it has. I've done a few weddings up in Michigan, up near the lakes. I've done a few in the Blue Ridge Parkway, but mostly it's right here.
Totally unfair question, but I'm asking anyway.
All right.
Would you rather hear somebody say, Elisa made our wedding day perfect, or we couldn't have done it without Elisa?
We couldn't have done it without Elisa. Selling perfect's pretty hard. And I always tell them it's not going to be perfect. It won't be perfect, but it's going to look as close to perfect as possible. I really try to keep their feet in the floor and their expectations realistic. But if they know they couldn't have done it without me, if they understand the effort that it took and that I was able to keep them with the right vision throughout the entire day, yeah, about as good as it gets.
We talked a little bit about how the wedding industry has changed over the past 25 plus years. What you can't do anymore, or what doesn't happen anymore, is somebody plans their wedding in a month. It's a process now, right? How long in advance should somebody book you if they're interested in working with your services?
It's funny. I've been hired 3 weeks out.
Wow.
My largest wedding, Frank, if you ever see this, 18 bridesmaids, 18 groomsmen, 750 people on the original guest list. 4 weeks out.
Whoa.
4 weeks out. Unbelievable. Wouldn't recommend that, wouldn't want to do it again. And that happened very early on in my career, like in '98. But I would say the average is at least 9 or 10 months, if not up to about 18 months. Often they get engaged Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, then the phone starts ringing, and that could be for that next year, not the coming one, but the next one.
What's the process look like when somebody says, I want to sign here and I want to work with you? How's it look?
It usually is two ways. One, they're brand new and they have no idea where to start, and they want you to sit down with them and start from where they're going to have their wedding, where the ceremony or reception is going to happen, help them with the budget, help them determine the guest list, right up front, the big questions. Or, and even more often, and maybe it's because we are known more for our coordination than our planning, is they get so far down the process and they're like, oh, holy cow, now what? They're stuck.
Yeah.
And then they call me. And then that's just a lot of often reassuring that more than anything else. They're probably in better shape than they think they are. But we go through it step by step to find out what they have done, what they need to do, and then give them a little bit of a game plan, and then again come in and execute the day.
I've known this for a long time because we've worked with you so much. But I hope people can tell through this interview, you have such a kind heart.
Oh.
Giving back's big to you, right? What's that look like?
Well, honestly, I think it's as simple as day to day. One of the things I try to do is channel a friend of mine named Brennan Scallion. Do you remember he passed away last year?
Yes.
It was weird that you do that because I was thinking about it today. About just connecting people and being aware of not what you need, but what someone else needs. So someone that's not even that in your inner circle, you know what, I'm going to connect so-and-so to them, or I'm going to tell them about this article I read, or I bet they'd like that book. So just thinking bigger, to me, is a huge difference you can make in the world on a very small one-on-one basis. Mm-hmm. I am very involved with the Association to Prevent Suicide, so we do a lot of work with that. We like supporting A Kid Again, which it's an organization that does events for children with life-threatening illnesses, and often those kids literally live from this event to that event. So it's an amazing, rewarding, very important organization. Up until just recently, we were working with a group called Bark Out Against Battering, also an amazing organization that was trying to build awareness that if there's someone in the home being physically or emotionally abused, that the pets are also being abused. And unfortunately, the one that needs to leave the home often can't, because they can't take the pet with them, and they won't leave their cat or dog. So it's about building awareness of that and trying to find avenues to help where the one being abused can leave and take their pet with them, or have an opportunity to let the pet go but still to come back to get the pet. All
very nice. Thank you.
All rewarding.
I have a wedding planner sitting here, so I'm going to take advantage of it, and I apologize. Give someone who's listening who might be starting to plan their wedding a few hints.
Well, put together that perfect team. Be careful that the referrals that you get are legitimate referrals, not paid referrals. I tell everyone, and I think it's pretty much known in the city, you can't buy my referral. And I don't say that to sound pompous, but you have to earn it. And as a professional, a consultant, and if I'm working for my client, I can't recommend the person that paid me to recommend them,
right,
or my best friend because I like them best. I love you, Larry, but I'm going to recommend you because I believe you're right for my client.
Right.
So when you're looking for those referrals, make sure you find that kind of authenticity, or you can get yourself in trouble. So put together that perfect vendor team based on true recommendations. Hire a planner if you can up front to help you understand the ins and outs of a lot of things. You might find 3 great photographers, but you don't realize that 2 of them are natural light photographers, and they're not going to be able to take photos as well inside your dark, awesome, but darker venue. So a lot of times we bring to the table expertise that there'd been a reason they would know that information.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Excellent. Contact information if someone wants to get a hold of you and possibly start planning their wedding.
elegantevents.com or at Elegant Events on Instagram. Is that it? Facebook, you can find me too.
You have a phone number?
Yeah, 513-828-9481.
What did I forget? Anything else you want to talk about?
Oh, you didn't tell me about you and why we work together.
That's
so
another episode, but we love working with you, and we appreciate all
Feel
you've
the
done
same
for
way.
us. all the, because, quite frankly, video is lower on the food chain. Some people have extra money, sometimes they do video. So they come to you first, and if you give them our name, it's a real blessing to us, so we thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
You did a great job.
Not bad. Thank
Was
you.
it fun?
Yeah, it wasn't bad at all. Didn't hurt too much. I barely almost cried. That was good. So I liked it.
Thank you for listening to For Better or Worse, brought to you by Little Brown Dog Productions. Next week, we will sit down with Greg Lee of the band The Chuck Taylors. Until then, happy planning.